Hey guys, it's Sagar and I'm back with another one of my ridiculous videos where I compare cameras on a mid-budget phone with ones on the top of the line iPhone. In this one, I'm going to put the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus against the iPhone 14 Pro. Initially, I did not plan on making this video, but Redmi went ahead and compared the main cameras on both these phones in their launch event. They even went on and tried to make us believe that the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus actually took better images than the iPhone 14 Pro. When a company makes such bold claims, I think it is only fair that we put these claims to test in real life. Yes, I am aware that there is a huge price difference between both these phones, and I think that makes this comparison even more interesting. This video will also give you an idea of how far the mid-budget smartphones have come compared to flagship phones in terms of their cameras. Now both these phones come with a triple camera setup on their back, and with the wide lens on the iPhone being able to take macro shots, it actually acts like a quad camera setup. But for the sake of this comparison, we are only going to concentrate on the images from their main cameras because A, that is the only camera Redmi compared in their presentation, and B, the ultra-wide, telephoto and macro cameras on the iPhone 14 Pro are so good that they just blow the ones on the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus out of water. Alright, with that big introduction out of the way, we will begin by checking out the daytime shots from main cameras on both these phones. These are pixel binned 12 megapixel images from both the phones. We will be comparing the high resolution shots a bit later on in the video, but for now let us check out these 12 megapixel shots which look incredibly detailed from both the phones. I am sure many of you might have noticed the distinct difference between these images. It's the color temperature and white balance. iPhone 14 Pro is showing much better looking colors, and that is actually how the colors of this building looked in real life. If we zoom in on this next set of images, we see a ton of details in both of them, but if we zoom back out, we again see a clear difference between the two. I took these images on a nice sunny day and you can see that warmth in the iPhone's images. But the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus captures much cooler looking colors in these shots. Now let me make this clear that images from the 12 Pro Plus don't look bad. It is just that they are not showing the actual color temperature and white balance in these lighting conditions. If I zoom in on this shot, we see ones from the iPhone 14 Pro having more details, which is interesting because I was expecting the 200 megapixel sensor on the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus to be capturing more details in almost all of these shots. iPhone also tries to capture slightly more contrast in its images, whereas the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus tries to make the scene look brighter, which most of the times takes away the contrast from its images. Which of these two shots you like based on their contrast depends on your personal preference. For the overall colors, iPhone tries to saturate them a bit to make the shot look more vibrant, while the Note 12 Pro Plus makes them look a bit faded or dull in comparison. Actual colors of the scene were somewhere in between both these shots. Now for most of the outdoor shots, iPhone's colors look much better and closer to how the scene looked in real life. Redmi on the other hand tries to cool the shot down and just wants to make it look blue for some reason. As I told you before, I took these images on a bright sunny day, but we don't see that warmth from the sun in the Redmi shot. iPhone does a much better job in making the colors look more closer to how I could see them with my eyes. Color is again a personal choice, so which of these images you like will depend on your personal preference. However, if you are looking for the one which captures more accurate looking colors, then that would be the iPhone 14 Pro. You can clearly see that iPhone did a much better job with the dynamic range in this shot. It managed to have the whole scene lit evenly while preserving the blue color of the brighter sky in the background. Redmi on the other hand did well with the shadows, but it could not preserve any details in the bright sky in this particular shot. This is a very hard situation with the sun being in the frame and the shadowed part of the building facing us. But both the phones seem to have done a fairly good job here. iPhone again did better with both the brighter and darker parts of the scene, but the Note 12 Pro Plus was not too far behind this time. I don't think I even have to say anything about this shot. Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus clearly did a much better job in this one, and the iPhone 14 Pro barely brought back any details from the shadows. Note 12 Pro, however, completely messes up the HDR mode when there are faces in the shot. It tries to make the face look bright and in the process completely blows up the background. And if I try to expose for the background, the face is completely dark. So the HDR mode on the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus is a hit or a miss, which makes it extremely inconsistent and annoying. When you want to take close-up shots, both the phones are very quick and accurate to set the focus on any nearby object. Now although the 12 Pro Plus has more megapixels, the physical size of the main image sensor is bigger on the iPhone 14 Pro. Yeah, it's shocking, but it's true. So the minimum focusing distance on the 12 Pro Plus is a bit better than the iPhone 14 Pro. In other words, you can be slightly more closer to the subject on the Redmi and still set the focus on the object, whereas on the iPhone, you will have to be a few more centimeters away from the subject for it to set the focus properly. The resulting close-up shots have sharper subjects on the iPhone 14 Pro. And as you can probably tell, even the colors look more lively in its close-up shots. Thanks to the big image sensor and wide aperture, the background is very nicely blurred out on both the phones. Even for the close-up shots, the extra bit of contrast in the iPhone's image is making them stand out, while some of the shots from the Note 12 Pro Plus just look a bit too flat. If you want to get even closer to your subject, both the phones get macro mode, and here are how the macro shots from both of them turned out. I'm just not going to say anything about these images. I will just leave a few of them out here, and you guys let me know in the comments which of these two phones took better macro shots. Both phones also get ultra-wide cameras, and since Redmi did not compare these two cameras in the event, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with these ones either. Just wanted to let you know that the field of view is a bit wider on the iPhone 14 Pro, so you can get slightly more of the scene in your shots. If you look closer, there are a lot of more details in the wide shots on the iPhone 14 Pro. Not just that, but it also has much better looking colors and dynamic range in these wide shots. I think I'll just leave the wide shots at that. Now we come to the good part, the part that you all have been waiting for. Here are how the 200 megapixel shots from the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus compare with the 48 megapixel ones from the iPhone 14 Pro. Other than the difference in the colors and contrast levels, detail wise, both these images look pretty much similar from so far. Even when I zoom in 3 to 4 times, we still don't see any noticeable difference in the amount of details being captured here. If I keep on zooming in even further, once we get past the 7 or 800% zoom mark, we start noticing some parts of the 200 megapixel image showing a bit more details than the 48 megapixel ones from the iPhone 14 Pro. Again, for this next set of high resolution images, we don't see any difference in the details from so far, and for this particular shot, even if I zoom in 700%, both these images seem to have similar amount of details in them. In fact, if I zoom in even further, we actually see stones in the iPhone 14 Pro's images being slightly sharper, which was a bit surprising. In this next set of images, we have some small text on the glass door, and only when I zoom in 800%, we see that the text is slightly sharper in the 200 megapixel shot from the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus. But as you can see, the difference is barely there, and we had to zoom in so far on both these images to see the slightest difference. I don't think anyone zooms in so deep on their images, that too on a smartphone. So in real life scenarios, I honestly don't feel that these 200 megapixel shots from the Note 12 Pro Plus are any better than the 48 megapixel ones from the iPhone 14 Pro. And on top of that, the high resolution shots on the iPhone 14 Pro show much better dynamic range and natural looking colors. iPhone 14 Pro is again miles ahead of the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus when it comes to clicking portrait mode shots. First of all, iPhone is much faster and more importantly, more accurate at detecting the edges of your subject and separating them from rest of the background. Look at how good and natural the blur roll-off in iPhone's portrait shot is. And at the same time, we see a hard line separating the subject from its background from the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus, which doesn't look very natural. The skin tones look natural, and overall colors of the entire shot also look much better from the iPhone 14 Pro. We saw this earlier, that the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus messes up the entire shot when there is bright background behind your subject, and this gets even worse while taking portrait shots. Look at how well the iPhone 14 Pro did with the dynamic range in this shot, and how the Note 12 Pro Plus basically failed to preserve any details in the background. Not just the dynamic range, but the 12 Pro Plus also messed up all of the colors in its portrait shots. This was a very well lit scenario, and there was no reason for Redmi to mess it up. If you decide to go with the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus, just make sure to avoid taking images in the scenarios where your subject is being backlit. Edge detection on the 12 Pro Plus doesn't get that much better even when I tried taking portrait shots of objects. iPhone 14 Pro is doing better for these shots as well. Normally phones do really well when I take portrait shots of objects, as most of the objects have a set shape and a hard line separating them from the background anyways, which makes it easier for the smartphone to detect the edges better. But the Note 12 Pro Plus doesn't get any better while taking these shots as well. So for the portrait mode, iPhone 14 Pro is comfortably ahead of the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus. That brings us to the artificial and low lighting conditions. Both phones have a big image sensor, wide aperture and optical image stabilization, so neither of them struggle in these lighting conditions. Images in low light look very good from both, but if you look closer, ones from the iPhone 14 Pro look a bit more detailed. You can clearly see the extra bit of details and sharper lines in this shot from the iPhone 14 Pro. Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus has barely captured any details on the slab, and it actually made it look completely smooth. In lower light, iPhone 14 Pro is making the shots look a bit cooler than how they looked in real life, while the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus is adding a lot of warmth to the lights in these conditions. This is completely opposite to how both these phones perform during the daytime. Now these lights were not as cool as they appear in the iPhone's shot, and neither are they as warm as they are looking in the Note 12 Pro Plus's image. That being said, we still see more details in the iPhone's shot as we get to even lower lighting conditions. Now Redmi used an image like this to show us how much better the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus is compared to the iPhone 14 Pro. Honestly, I don't see that. Yes, there is a bit more light being captured in the Note 12 Pro Plus's image, but the details are just not there in this shot. Normally the iPhone is really bad in terms of lens flares when there is a light source directly in the frame. But in this one, we see Redmi having really bad lens flare. And if you move your attention to this part, you can also see how well iPhone is handling the exposure from light, while the Redmi just blew it up. Now Redmi was misleading and they showed the exact opposite in their launch event, and that is the reason I like to test these claims myself. Anyways, moving on. Once the light got sufficiently low, I switched to the night mode on both these phones. With the night mode turned on, Note 12 Pro Plus starts to take sharper looking low light shots, but there is an obvious processed look to its images, while the ones from the iPhone are looking natural. Although the Note 12 Pro Plus is not showing real colors in this shot, I still prefer how its night mode shot came out in this case. It looks so much better than the dull looking shot from the iPhone 14 Pro. When the light gets very low, iPhone ends up taking better looking night mode shots. There was barely any light when I took this shot, but we still see a lot of details in the iPhone's image, while one from the Note 12 Pro Plus is just filled with a ton of noise. Redmi can take 4K videos at 30 fps and it has optical image stabilization working at this resolution. Here is how its 4K video look compared against the 4K video from the iPhone 14 Pro. iPhone gets OIS plus EIS stabilization for all video resolution and frame rate options, so its videos look much more stable. Note 12 Pro Plus gets OIS and EIS both just at 1080p 30 fps, but those videos are not as detailed as the 4K ones. Just the OIS on the Note 12 Pro is doing a fairly good job, and if you are careful while walking, you can take some very good 4K videos with it. iPhone's videos are clearly looking better, but Redmi's 4K video is also looking very good considering its price range. With that, we have checked out and compared over 55 image and video samples from both these phones. And while the iPhone 14 Pro is clearly better in every department, Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus is not too far behind. After looking and comparing these images in various lighting conditions, it is clear that Redmi made false claims that the Note 12 Pro Plus can take better images than the iPhone 14 Pro. But at the same time, it is also interesting to see how close it came in some of the cases. If Redmi could work a bit on getting the white balance and color temperature in these images corrected, I think the results would have been even closer. iPhone definitely blows the Note 12 Pro Plus away if we consider all the cameras, because its ultra-wide, telephoto, macro and even the selfie cameras takes much better images than the other cameras on the Note 12 Pro Plus. But since Redmi just compared the main cameras in their launch event, I tried to keep this video focused on just those ones. While it is true that iPhone 14 Pro is clearly the one with the better main camera. I mean, we already knew this before we even looked at the first image in this video. But the difference between their images is definitely not proportional to the difference between their prices. You looked at these images too, so do you think iPhone's images are 5 times as good as the ones from the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus? I personally don't think so. If you want one takeaway from this video, let it be this. You don't need to spend obscene amount of money to be able to take good images with your smartphone. If you know some basic things about photography, like how to use the light to your advantage and how to compose your shot properly, you can end up taking some really good images with a mid-budget smartphone as well. Well, that is it. I hope you guys found this video to be helpful in some way or the other. I have some really interesting videos coming out about this Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus and its younger brother, the Redmi Note 12 Pro. So make sure you have the notifications for this channel turned on. That is it for this video, guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for a lot more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.